Happens all the time.
Okay,
There we go.
Much better.
thank you. I'm here tonight for Dustin Sweeney and Krista McCauley for their property at 244 Prospect Street. We've submitted a notice of intent to manage the invasives at their property. They're newly owners of the property within the last year or so. This was in front of the property was in front of the commission not probably about a year or so ago for a home improvement and septic system upgrade plan by Collins Engineering Group. Now that Dustin and Kristen are in the property, they would like to improve the surrounding yard, which is full of invasives from multiflora rose to glossy buckthorn and bittersweet. It's really engulfed the yard. So what we're looking to do is just work within the buffer zone. I can share my plan and pull up the plan if that's all right.
Please.
What we're looking to do is work within the buffer to cut the invasives at the base of the stem, wipe them with herbicide, and then work to manage the property. It's not something that is going to be a one and done project. It's going to be over time, and they're looking to do it themselves and just kind of work at it through the life of the anticipated order of conditions. There is a component of extra pruning so that when you're at the backyard, you can look across the wooded area. It's not that significant of vista in the sense that we're pruning trees or limbs of trees. It's really, once we start pulling down some of the bittersweet vine, we'll have a little bit better view just to kind of open some areas within the buffer zone. Did get a chance to meet with Jen on site last week, and we tweaked the plan to respond to her comments. But mainly, it's an improvement to the property, trying to manage and bring back some natives. We did designate an area that we would locate within the buffer zone that we could use for a burning pile, during the burning season to get rid of some of the brush if it's not going to be removed and disposed of off-site. We'd have to bring it to a facility that's familiar with processing invasives so that it doesn't get mixed in to a landscape yard and brought back to other residents. That could be a special condition if we talk to Jen on site that if it is going to a off-site disposal, where's it going and do they have in place for management of invasive? And we did talk about any work consisting of application of herbicide. If it's not the property owners, then it has to be a licensed herbicide applicator in Massachusetts. So we would provide that information to the commission prior to any contractor work on site. So with that, I'll bring it back to the commission. It's really just a good project to try to improve.
Jen, any comments?
Just a couple. So the property already has a partial certificate of compliance for the house and the septic, the grading, and the buffer zone restoration area. There's a surety on that, and then the new homeowners purchased the property. The project is a combination of mechanical and chemical, and so suggested conditions are that we get copies of the applicator's pesticide license, the SDS sheets for the type of herbicide that's being used, making a note that it is spot treatment. They're not spraying anything. You use a little applicator, like a little paintbrush, and you dab each stem. It's not going to be broadcast anywhere. Brad already mentioned the licensed facility of where material would be brought if they don't burn it. And I just want to mention that vista pruning is a very specific definition, and it's required to be done by a licensed arborist. And so that definition I threw in the draft order of conditions for you, and that's about it. So since it's invasive species management, the commission may want to consider this as a 5-year permit. And that's it for me.
That makes sense. I had mentioned to Jennifer earlier that I've spent the summer fighting Japanese knotweed, and trust me, glyphosate is very much needed. Any members of the commission have comments or questions about this application?
It looks great to me, Ben.
Yeah. Any public comment with respect to the invasive species management application at 244 Prospect Street? All right, seeing none, Brad, I assume you guys would like to close this?
Yes, if we could, that would
Yeah.
be great.
Jen, do we have the DEP number?
We do. It's 152-1785.
Very good. So was this a notice of intent or an RDA? So I'm just trying to think of how to properly make the motion here.
It's a notice of intent.
Okay. So I'll do a motion to issue permit for work in order of conditions with respect to the invasive species management. I'm sorry, I'll do a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Grossman, aye.
Nope. Roared up. Spady, aye.
Paul Fells, aye.
All right, motion to issue a permit for work in order of conditions for the invasive species management as discussed for 244 Prospect Street.
Benson, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Grossman, aye. Paul Fells, aye.
Spady, aye.
Very good. Turning back to 244 Prospect Street, request to modify an existing permit for house construction to change visual barrier requirements. Brad, whenever you're ready.
Sure, thanks. I'll share my screen again and pull up the plan. So within the area of the past permit, there was buffer zone mitigation that has been planted and seeded, protected with a silt sock and conservation posts installed. What we're looking to do is modify that permit so that a few items. I'll pull up the letter. What we're looking to do is the herbaceous plant, the seed mix it's come in very weedy. What we'd like to do is just trim that herbaceous vegetation around the planted native shrubs, and that would allow us to then add native wildflowers. So we get plugs of native wildflowers and work that into the herbaceous layer. And then, which we know the commission wouldn't necessarily have issue with. The other item is the post and rail fence that was proposed along the border of the area. We're looking to change the fence so that it would be a combination of shrubs and boulders along the edge, not a post and rail fence, so that it would be in the just along this edge. We already have conservation posts in place. Instead of a post and rail fence, a combination of shrubs and boulders along the edge as a replacement. So that's there aren't any other in this minor modification.
Okay. Jen, any comments here?
We had this discussion last week at the site, and it was made clear that it's not supposed to look like a landscaped area, mulching around any of the plants, and the homeowners are aware of that.
Okay. I have no issue with this change, especially in consideration of the work that we're doing back here with all these invasives. Any comments from members of the commission? All right, any public comment with respect to this requested modification? So with a minor modification, this is kind of a question for Jennifer.
You don't have to
Sorry.
close the public hearing, but you would make a motion if you approve it or not.
Okay, all right. So I will do a motion to issue a minor modification as requested for 244 Prospect Street.
Spady, second.
Roll call vote. Al, you're on mute.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Grossman, aye. Paul Fells, aye.
Spady, aye.
Very good.
Thank you
So
very much.
Thank you, Brad. Turn to our next order of business, 21 Marshall Road. Thomas Holmes, Scott Faria, J.K. Holmgren, representative to construct an in-ground pool within 100 feet of wetland.
Sorry.
No, take your time.
Good evening.
Scott, how are you?
How are you?
Good. Ready whenever you are.
All right. For the record, my name is Scott Rogers from J.K. Holmgren Engineering. For the project tonight, we have a proposed pool project within a buffer zone. This particular house is located at 21 Marshall Road, which, if you're not familiar, it's off of Calvin Road, which is off of Washington Street, pretty close to the Roach Brothers Supermarket and pretty close to the Stoughton Town Line. The house itself is approximately 70 years plus in age. There's a bordering vegetative wetland off to the east of the property. And, you know, relatively, because of the age of the house and the property itself, the development, if you will, the buffer zone has been disturbed over time, I believe.
Hey, Scott, can you share your screen and put the plan up there, please?
I can, yep. Can you see that?
I can see a file. I don't see the plans yet.
I hate when this happens.
Is it possible just to click through that? Because what I'm seeing is a file with looks like 5 documents in it,
You're just seeing like a folder?
like a folder. Yeah, 21 Marshall Road.
Yeah, I'm clicking on the PDF of the site plan, and it's showing me it, but it's not obviously showing you it.
So you may have to stop share and then do it, reshare.
Okay.
Yeah, that might do it.
How about now?
You got it.
Yep. There's it.
All right. So you can see the house is obviously off of Marshall Road. The pool in the area in the back is colored in blue.
Yeah.
There's a surround made of pervious pavers in red. And the wetland itself is off the northeast corner of the property. That's got the wetland flags in the green color. I've shown the 25-foot buffer zone as well as the 50 and the 100. So that particular corner, the northeast corner of the property, the buffer zone is down to like 8 feet, worst case scenario. And so the pool itself is about 15 and a half by 36 feet. It's obviously not rectangular. It's got that kidney shape, sort of, if you will. Like I mentioned, the pervious pavers will be there. This particular pool will be a saltwater pool. There'll be no backwash with it. And it's got the filter cartridge system, so the filters can be pulled out, cleaned off, all that kind of stuff. We have shown silt sock around the limit of work for the pool and the surround. And there is you can kind of see sort of a black line off of the pool surround area. There's basically a hand dug channel that was put in just in prep for like a sump, if you will. So we're going to add some siltation protection straw bales essentially at the end of that before the fence area. One of the things, because we have this, existing disturbance that's been there for 70 plus years, we are proposing to put some buffer zone enhancement plants back in, if you will. You can see in that that northeast corner, we're going to put back in some high bush blueberries, some Vaccinium corymbosum, as well as some Viburnum dentatum, which is the arrowwood. And we did receive, I think it was yesterday, a file number for this project, and it's 152-1786. So with that, I'd like to answer any questions that you might have.
Jen, any comments?
Yeah, we'll just note that the existing fence is actually beyond the property line, and then for probably 12 to 15 feet beyond that, there is some alteration, some into the wetland. Discuss that with the homeowner so they know material does need to be removed from that area. The hand dug trench that Scott mentioned is existing. It comes all the way across the yard. They'll be doing some redesigning of the sump pump channel, so that should be removed by the end of the project. Currently, there should be sediment control on the other side of the fence, preventing any sedimentation of the wetland. And you probably just want to talk about where the markers should be, where you would like to put the markers. Okay, thanks.
Scott, can you tell me a little bit about the topography of this backyard?
Yeah, so it slopes generally, it's not super steep, but it generally slopes about 177 to about 172, thereabouts where that the wetland is itself. So there'll be a little bit of a fill area, but not a drastic slope or a major change in the slope that's there.
No retaining wall?
No walls, no.
Okay. And then where are the mechanicals for the pool going here? I may just not be seeing them on the plan.
Yeah, I believe they're going to be located kind of in the northern corner. There's an existing patio out there.
Okay.
I believe they're going to put them out in like the northern corner, if you will.
All right, that makes sense. Any comments from members of the commission?
And do you think it's worth maybe conditioning, like cleaning? I know that you can clean the cartridge filters for that said saltwater system. Maybe you could maybe condition it like so maybe you can't clean it anywhere near the pool. You know what I mean? Like maybe the front yard or driveway, or maybe there's drainage. Or I don't know. I don't know if there's a better way.
Yeah,
It kind of.
I'll be honest. I don't know enough about pools to know if it's
Same.
cartridge or salt water or.
And honestly, I got a pool and I don't do much with it. So my parents.
Yeah. Scott, do you know if this is a cartridge
Okay.
system that they're proposing? I know you said salt water. I don't.
Yeah, it is a cartridge system. So you can take those cartridges out and, wash them off with a hose.
So I think Mike's point is valid that we probably want to just condition that gets done outside of the buffer zone when they do it. Rory, I think you had your hand up. Do you have a comment, question?
I mean, the only thing I did want to, I don't know if Scott could bring up the plans again. When I first looked at the project, I was sort of hoping that the pool could be rotated a little bit to get it further outside the buffer zone. But then I saw all the offsets to the both the septic system and the side set off of the boundary of the property. So I think that it's about where you could put a pool in this piece of property. So I just as a for the record notation.
Yeah, Rory, I had the same thought, and then I saw the septic system.
Yeah, I believe you looked at like 3 different locations for the pool and tried to Rory's point, there's so many different setbacks that we have to kind of work around that there's not a lot of options to making it in a better location, really.
And then I think I had not gone out to site, but I think I saw a note about a fence being beyond property lines. Has that been addressed?
It's been surveyed. We haven't addressed the fact that it's off the property line. As far as I know, the owners of the lot in back, I don't know if they're aware of it or not, but it's been there for 20, 30 years. It's been there for a long time. So we're not proposing to move it.
Okay. And then how about just proposed conservation markers?
So we can certainly put the conservation markers don't know where you want to put them. You want to put them behind the fence, obviously, but I don't know how the distance seems to change a little bit here and there. I don't know if you want to do every 20 feet, every 30 feet.
Would you mind? I'm sorry. Would you mind putting the plan up one more time? I don't mean to make you keep doing that.
You could put it on the gate since it's everything beyond the fence is not on their property anyway. They really shouldn't be dumping anything back there in the future.
Okay.
Can you see it or no?
I do not see it.
Of course not.
I know.
Um, how about now?
We can see it. Would you mind just zooming in back there?
Yeah.
And can you tell me where the gate is that Jennifer's referencing?
I believe it's, can you see my cursor?
Yep.
I believe it's down in this area.
Up
Okay.
in the northwest corner.
Oh, it's up here?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So where are conservation markers appropriate here?
I think you can put it right on the gate.
You think one on the gate is enough?
I think so.
Okay. I'm fine with that unless anyone on the commission feels strongly and would like more.
Well, strongly is an overstatement, but I think we.
Sorry,
I think we-
Rory.
I think we could benefit from perhaps one, in the other corner, maybe 10 feet offset from the corner, just so somebody just doesn't start dumping stuff over the fence right there.
Yep.
I mean, that would be my suggestion, is just a second one there.
That makes sense.
Not strongly.
I won't characterize your opinions further at this meeting anyway, Rory. I'll try. Any public comment with respect to 21 Marshall Road? Did I just see a hand raised?
You do.
Hi, this is Thomas Holmes.
Hi, Mr. Holmes. We can hear you. We can't see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you turn the video on for me? Yeah. I apologize.
Would you mind just stating your name and address for the record? Actually, we got Thomas Holmes.
Sure. I'm Thomas Holmes. I'm from 21 Marshall Road. I'm the owner from 21 Marshall Road, Northeastern Mass.
Very good.
And the only reason I wanted to speak was, you know, I know that what's it called? That we have to clean out the back. I've talked to the contractor that did my patio over, so he's, you know, made aware. And I turned around and, you know, to be honest with you, like when she pointed some of the stuff out to me, you know, I was kind of like, all right, you know, but I don't want by no means anybody to think that it's been a dumping ground by me and my family. We've been here for 20 years. If you took the pictures that she showed, you would see that it's not like it's you know, a dumping ground. And you know, I'll make sure that, you know, when we take out the filters, that, you know, I will clean them out front. As far as you know, taking care of the back, you know, if I have to, I'll put all the, you know, vegetation that you need me to put in, and me and my family will do whatever we can to help promote the vegetation in the back, because that's kind of very important to me as well. I just don't want it to be like that, you know, we destroyed the back, because it's not. That's not the case.
And I didn't take it that way at all. We see a little bit of landscape debris all the time, and it's part of what we do when we're doing these permits, is just to make sure things are cleaned up. So I thank you for jumping in and clarifying that. And if there's anything else, we're here.
No, thank you very much. I want to thank you for us, you know, for me and my family. This isn't, just a pool, just to let everybody know, this is my brother-in-law around the corner. He and I don't want to put anything on anybody, but he became paralyzed a year ago. And one of the things that me and my wife were trying to do was trying to put a pool in so we can give him he's paralyzed from the chest down, so we could get him pool therapy. That was one of the things that we wanted to do, so he could come over here. That's why we set up we did the walkway to the back, just so he could get in easier and do the patio. And that's why we wanted the pool up by that patio end, so we could actually get him in and out of the pool. And, I'm not trying to get on anybody's feelings, but that was the issue. And, when this kind of fell apart the last year, has been hard on my wife, that she's, obviously had kind of a breakdown. And so I'm trying to get this done for her and for her brother. So I just wanted everybody to know that that's the reason being. And thank you very much for your time. I don't want to waste any more time of your day. Thank you.
Not a waste at all. Thanks for your effort. I don't see that anyone else has public comment with this. So Scott, I assume you'd like to close.
Yes, please.
Roy, did you have another comment? Okay, just Zoom, saw your head move, didn't know if you had something else to add. Motion to close the public hearing for 21 Marshall Road.
Crossman, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Both those are.
Media.
Motion to issue a permit for work in order of conditions for 21 Marshall Road.
Benson, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Both those are.
Spadia.
All right, very good. Scott, thank you. Thomas, thank you.
Much.
Calling the next order of business of the Conservation Commission, 149 Lincoln Street, lot number 2. Permit for work application for construction of a single-family home. Looks like Mark Perrin has his hand raised.
Not sure who that is, but I promoted him and not sure why we're not hearing from Tom.
This is Mark Perrin.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
How are you? Thanks for having me tonight.
Absolutely.
The agenda. I see Tom's name up there, but I don't see why he's not.
Well, we'll give him a minute. I think, Tom, if you can hear us, we can't see you or hear you. Looks like he has started sharing his screen, so I can see the plan.
Sorry about that. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties. My apologies.
No problem.
Okay. So this project is on 149 Lincoln Street. The property itself contains around 4.4 acres, a little more than that. It has an existing home on the front right. It also has, as you can see in these green areas, some disturbed areas or historically disturbed trails that look like they were used for, wooding and et cetera up here. There's a storage yard up here that's been used. It's got some old equipment on it. As far as the resource areas are concerned, working from the back, these resource areas were delineated by ECR Environmental. Just off the property, we have an intermittent stream. It's the bank to the intermittent stream is a type 1 intermittent stream. Working upland from there, we have a BVW. And then as you can see, we have your associated buffers. The 100-foot, 50-foot no disturb from the buffer, the 75-foot to an intermittent stream, the 100-foot to an intermittent stream, the limit of the 100-foot buffer zone, 150-foot intermittent stream zone, and then the 200-foot wide zone. Now, this is a unique project here and approach. Our client initially was entertaining a 4-lot subdivision with regular lots on it, and then he was approached by the town and asked to preserve the home on the front right, which he has agreed to do. So as part of this project, we're going to have 3 new lots here. This does not have a DEP file number because we are not doing any work within a state jurisdictional area. We do have jurisdictional areas down here, like I said, the BVW, the bank, etc. But as you can see from the 100-foot buffer zone, there's no work proposed, so there's no real jurisdiction for this filing with the state DEP. This is all local filing itself. There were some other questions that came up too, as the depression up in front. Mr. Holmes did look at that, and there are no wetland species in there. There are no hydric soils in there. We did extensive soils throughout the property. I did the soils. They were witnessed by the Board of Health, and down in the low area there, at the lowest point, groundwater, high groundwater is 88 inches below the bottom of the depression. There is no organic peat, there's no organic mat, there's no staining of the leaves, there's no signs of groundwater ponding. I did run an analysis, and I will get that to you, Jennifer, on the 1-year storm, and there's only 0.01 acre feet in there, which is to be expected with the subsurface soil stratum that we have out here. Now,
hey, Tom,
yeah,
could you just enlarge that a little bit so we can see some of the detail and the house, the existing house?
Sure. Let me move.
Depression aren't on that plan, so if you use your mouse and show people where it is, that would be helpful.
Oh, the depressed area?
Everything you're talking about, if you move your mouse,
Let me open up.
doesn't show on that
Let me
plan.
do one more thing.
Tom, I just want to add so that you know we cannot see you. We can see what you're showing us.
You can see my plan, correct?
I can see your plan. I can see.
Perfect.
Now you have a
Perfect.
file open. I'm
All right.
just a heads up.
All right. So here we go. Takes a little while to open this one. Okay, so this is the depressed area that we're talking about here. This is an overall existing conditions plans, provides you a clearer view of what's going on here in the associated buffers. These are the table on the soil exams that we completed. It was nice, very pervious soils. This is the area that Brad Holmes looked at. There's no wetlands here, and I just described to you everything else that we've done here in the analysis. There's no quarter acre feet. It doesn't qualify as an IVW. It doesn't qualify as an isolated wetland. So we are basically dealing with this area in here, and the particular subject lot that we're dealing with. We do need some waivers from the local bylaw. Let me zoom in here a little bit and see if I can get that to go over. Folks back over here. And this is the same for both lots. This is a good table analysis for the overall lot. We are not proposing any work within the 75, the 100, the 150, and in fact, we're going to limit a yard of recreational area here. And then we're restoring this 1,369 square feet of disturbed area here. We're restoring this 509 square feet here. We have 10,522 square feet of parcel A that is being preserved in perpetuity. Parcel B, 18,205 square feet, plus this entire swath over through here, which includes not touching any of the riverfront area here. And we are fully amenable to having this as conditions. And, you know, if you need descriptions or easements on that, we can clearly do that. We have our conservation posts along this entire area here. We've taken and we've put in the homes as close as we can, kept the septic systems away. Dry wells are recharging up here for the entire roof runoff for the 100-year storm. Roadway and driveway runoff from the front goes and gets treated to the front. We do have an aquifer protection overlay district, and the system is designed for the higher critical standards for DEP to accommodate that. And it is in compliance with section 50328 of your stormwater regulations. Now, how do we achieve what we're doing here? Lot 1, we're not touching anything. So that's 1,792 square feet, 179 square feet of riverfront area that's being, 1,792 being preserved. And then on lot 2, we have 23,442, and we are proposing an alteration of 3506. Lot 3, which is the next one, is 3681. Those other 2 parcels that I just described here, bring us down to 9.5%, which, by the way, does not include these natural buffers that we have from the 150 to 200 here. So we're actually well under that area. So that's, I think, a good overview. Jennifer, to be polite to Jennifer, she does need an opportunity to review some information we submitted today. And I was educated by her that she needs a SWIP, so that's not something I can do in 2 seconds. So I'll be working on that this week to get it to her. I'm well versed on doing EPA level SWIPs, so we will take care of that as well.
And Tom, just because I'm not, for the record, the lot that I'm seeing on the left is lot 2, which is the first one.
Correct.
we're
This is
talking
lot
about.
2 right here.
Okay.
This is the one we're talking about right now.
Yes, there were a lot of questions in the staff report. They provided that information today, but not with enough time to review it before tonight's
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay.
We gave a lot of answers today, and we still got a couple more to check off. She's been very helpful and thorough in her review.
Tom, so just make sure you use the EPA template on the draft SWIP. If
Oh,
you-
yeah. We do EPA stormwater templates all the time.
Tom,
you.
you mentioned that you're preserving, I think you said the back 50 feet in perpetuity. How are you doing that?
Okay, so we are preserving parcel A, parcel B, and we are preserving past the 150-foot buffer zone. So my recommendation is we're going to have the conservation post markers put up here. We will have a condition to that, and it might be a good idea to have this made as a conservation easement. So it goes on their deed, and they know they can't do anything with that. And we do the same here with lot 1. That way, it takes all 5 of these pieces of the parcel, and it gives us a nice preserved natural wooded area over here.
Okay. So lot 2, all by itself, without the other parcels that we just talked about, how big is that lot?
That lot is 40,501 square feet.
Very good. Jennifer, any comments here? I think it sounds like we got a little bit of paperwork we still have to do.
Yeah, not till I review,
Yeah.
they revised plans and a nice big stack of information to address those comments.
Understood.
So you're proposing an easement? Is that correct?
Yeah, we can add make those easements all the way up to the restoration area. So that way that satisfies the commission. So now we have more than 150-foot wide natural wooded area that is protected there.
And Tom, when do you think you would have either draft language on the easement?
I can check with my surveyor tomorrow and find out.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Comments from other members of the commission? Questions?
Where's, oh, God, sorry.
Go ahead, Nate.
I was saying, where's the original house on the, because the plan's kind of cut off on the bottom. Where's the original house?
Right
Right
here.
up the road.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, the other houses are up in this area here and here.
Do you want to use the plan that shows all 4 houses on there?
Yeah, let me see if I can grab that one. I actually have it up here already. Here we are. That shows everything.
Very good.
And it's all tied together because I want to make sure that we're really doing a nice job to protect the A-pod as well. And we're taking all this storm water, we're going to put it down here, deep sump catch basins, hydrodynamic separators, sediment trap, and then we've got infiltration basins here and leaching pits for here. And during construction plans in place, long-term pollution prevention plans in place. And, you know, we've tried to keep all, like I said, anything that can cause pollution away from that riverfront area to filter it.
Good thinking. Roy, do you have a comment?
Couple of questions maybe. So,
Please.
in the overall location of this, how does this connect at all to the Flyway Pond Conservation Area, or is it disconnected from that?
It's disconnected.
I
mean, you have woods, you have substantial woods throughout that whole area there, but I don't know, you know, it's private property all around it, Aspen Hollow Estates, and then there's the church next door, and then there's larger wetlands, and it broadens out to the larger watershed area. So it could very well be.
I think the only other comment I have, Mr. Chair, is just I think in the public interest section of the waiver, there's a number of things that are mentioned in it, and I think that there's one issue that's included there that I don't know that we should include, and we may want to discuss that a little bit. So it talks about increasing the tax base, and I don't think that falls into our definition of capital P, capital I public interest. I think it's lowercase p, lowercase I. But I think there are two other mechanisms here for public interest to meet the waiver requirements. Just as an overall, and we can maybe all agree that it's sufficient or not. And that is, including that riverfront area, is preservation of that riverfront area is probably a public interest, as well as a preservation of the home up front that was requested by the Easton Historical Commission. So I think those two issues in and of itself are probably sufficient enough to satisfy the public interest requirement for the waiver. But I think just including the tax base, I don't want to create any sort of expectation that applicants can use increasing the tax base as a public interest requirement.
That's a great point, Rory. I had missed
Okay, I
that.
can delete that if you so desire. Thank you.
Thank you.
But otherwise, I want to say that in general, other than getting all the stormwater plan and everything else need to be done, as well as the riverfront calculations that Jennifer has to confirm here, I don't have any other questions about the project. I think it's an appropriate use of the property. So.
Any public comment on this project? Seeing none, it sounds like we are continuing this. And Jen, despite us talking about this a few times, the next meeting date is not a typical 2-week schedule. What is the next meeting date?
It is Tuesday, October 10th.
Okay.
Tom, will that work for you?
Yeah, that works for us. Sure.
All right,
Perfect.
so I will tech issues. Hold on a second. Motion to continue 149 Lincoln Street, Lot 2 to the next meeting of the Conservation Commission, Tuesday, October 10th.
Awesome, second.
I'm going to give Nate the second. Al, you were a little slow on that one. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Paul Fells, aye.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
And I guess we're turning back to the same project, 149 Lincoln Street, Lot 3.
Okay, it's going to be the same
Yeah.
presentation. One thing I did forget to add too is Brad Holmes has prepared the planting plan, and you will have that this week as well.
Fantastic. Unless anyone feels strongly otherwise, I don't think we need to hear the same presentation for Lot 3. The plan was the same. I'm just going to ask if there's any public comment on this to allow one more opportunity. Any public comment for 149 Lincoln Street, Lot 3? All right, and again, seeing none, we're going to continue. I'll do a motion to continue 149 Lincoln Street, Lot 3 to the next meeting of the Conservation Commission, Tuesday, October 10th.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
You need a second.
I do need a second in a roll call vote.
Second.
Roll call.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Paul Fells, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you. Turning to our next order of business, 20 goods. Sorry, Mark, I can see you're still here. Did you have a question?
Hey, Tom.
Mark, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No worries.
So I
didn't want to catch you on a hot mic. So turning to the next order of business of the Conservation Commission, 20 Goodspeed Lane, Lot 5. Anybody here?
Scott Rogers, who's muted.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you.
All right. Let me see if I can start my video. I think Jennifer stopped my video.
Possible.
There we go.
I just prompted you to start it, so there you go. We can see you.
All right. So you're probably gonna ask me to share the screen too.
Sorry.
Let's see if I can do it easier this time. All right,
We're getting you all kinds of practice tonight.
All right. All right, can you see that?
Unfortunately, no.
Of course not. Let's see.
I can see it.
We can see it.
All right. So I know that several of you have seen this particular project a lot and this particular parcel quite a few
Very
times.
many times.
Yeah. So let's just go over a quick history of where we were and where we're trying to be. So we had an older design for a bioretention area, which was essentially scrapped per the wishes of the current owner. And then we had a newer plan that was trying to sort of reinvent the drainage system that we were trying to implement, if you will. I got a lot of comments from Jennifer, and we sort of we're sort of starting over again. But one of the things that I spent a lot of time doing was in talking to Todd Pilling, the original design engineer. I got a hold of the 200-page drainage report and all the drain maps. And essentially this particular, I'm going to call it a common drive. I'm not sure if that's the correct terminology for this one, but lots 4, 5, and 6 essentially share this common driveway. Lot 5 is obviously the one towards the rear that you're looking at. But in the original drainage design, which is back to like 2017, I believe, the way it was set up was about the first 50 feet of the common drive was basically sheet flowing towards Goodspeed Lane. And even though I don't show it on the plan, there's a pretty large cul-de-sac system. I'm going to guess it's about 50 by 70 feet or so underneath Goodspeed Lane cul-de-sac. That's been installed. So what we're doing is we're kind of going back to the original design and sort of implementing what was approved, 8 years ago. So we're going to be regrading that driveway to allow that 50 feet to sheet flow into Goodspeed Lane as it was designed and approved 8 years ago. The remaining, I believe it's 110 feet, which is heading towards the existing house on Lot 5. We're going to now super elevate that driveway, which would be super elevated towards the eastern side. And then once we get past what we anticipate to be the driveway connection for Lot 4, we're going to add in a sod swale on that side. So essentially, the driveway will be heading in the, sheet flowing, super elevated towards the east, and then it'll be captured via sod swale, which is going to be helping out with the stormwater quality part as well as the stormwater quantity. And during that review of the stormwater report that Todd Pilling had done several years ago, the second watershed of the property, most of these 4, 5, and 6, head towards the south, towards that existing wetland. And I don't have it with me right now, but I can submit all this online on Permitize, obviously. And Jennifer got a lot of it today. Unfortunately, it was kind of late in the game, if you will. But so that particular watershed from the existing condition versus the proposed was a pretty significant reduction in peak runoff rates and volumes in the vicinity of like 22%. So that's what was approved several years ago, and I believe that the addition of the sod swale will be an improvement over what was approved before. We're also proposing a rain barrel. And we did talk to the current owners, Scott, and I'm going to mess up his wife's name, but Scott Paiva, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. And they gave us because I told them that it's a pretty good idea that we have a good idea of what you guys think about the environment and what you're committed to doing. And some of the things we talked about with them, in addition to the rain barrel part, was they do drive an electric car, and they're hoping to buy a second one in the sometime near future. They are significantly dedicated to recycling. They spend a lot of time recycling materials, and they strive to minimize, general waste on their property. They've also improved their house is pretty new, but they are installing LED lighting and as well as smart appliances. As far as local stuff, they also have engaged in or rolling in the Easton sustainability programs, which I believe some of which are you can track your particular house water usage to try to minimize water usage and not have waste. And then they've also are talking about some future projects like installing a potential pollinator garden on the property, and they want to get into doing some things like composting. So I know there's probably a lot to give to you in one fell swoop. The other thing they have done, there was, this particular project, or this end of the project, has been going on for years, and the silt socks have been damaged by tree limbs, by just construction activities. So over last week as well as today, they've been improving and replacing and repairing silt socks on both lot 4 and lot 5. And they've done a bunch of landscaping, which is obviously not so much in the purview of the Conservation Commission, but the landscaping plan that's been required by the Planning and Zoning Board all along Goodspeed Lane. They planted a lot of shrubs. I was down there today. It looks really nice. And they've also been doing more landscaping on other particular lots along the way on Goodspeed Lane. So with that, I'm sure we'll have some questions to answer for you.
Right. Jennifer, you want to start us off?
Yeah, the staff report had a lot of questions, and since that information just came in today, I've not had time to review that.
So I think what has been the theme here is we've had a lot of modifications for each of these. I'm clearly not an engineer, but my concern has been stormwater management across this entire road with the modifications to each individual house, and how what your clients proposed here today impacts the stormwater management system for this subdivision. Does this increase flow as designed, decrease flow as designed, have no impact? And I'd love a little bit of input from you here.
Sure. So this particular design would be a slight increase from what was originally approved. But like I told you before, that when I say the watershed in particular is the one that heads towards the south, towards the wetland, but that was a 22% increase in peak runoff rates and volumes. So you'd probably be talking about 0.5%. So now we're down to 21.5% improvement. The one thing about particularly lot 6, lot 5, and lot 4, when we get into it, these lots may be pretty good sized lots, but they have obviously the boarding limited area on the boarding vegetated wetland. They've got a large septic system on the north side. The buffer zones, there's some slopes on it. There's also a wetland mitigation area or wetland replication area. So even though it's a large parcel, when you add all those resource areas and utilities, the area gets smaller and smaller. So it's kind of difficult to do a lot of things I'd like to do on these lots. It's just not enough area to make everything happen.
I'm sorry, that was a little confusing. You said it's a slight increase in stormwater, but then you said it was a 21% decrease.
It's a decrease from Okay, let me try to figure this out. So.
Well,
the
actually, we don't, I don't know that we even need to get into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's an increase, then you must abate it. That
And we
makes sense?
have through the swale and the rain barrel and everything else that we've done.
Okay. So you're saying the swale will approximate pre-construction conditions.
Correct.
Okay. The rain barrel, I mean, it's nice, but that's not, I don't know how enforceable that is for future owners. So it really comes down to the swale, and does the swale capture all the water that it is supposed to and treat it the way it's supposed to? I guess that's the question.
Comments from members of the commission? Rory?
So there was, and I was trying, it's funny because earlier today I actually did see the previous plans with the bioretention basin. What was the rationale for eliminating the bioretention basin as originally designed here?
So when they were starting to construct that earlier this spring, I believe it was, and there's a slope out there, so they were fighting between the slope and getting the bioretention area to work. The garage itself, that small area right there behind the garage, is where it was proposed. Getting it all to work, basically you'd had like a steep slope, like a 10% slope coming down past the garage. And then you had this 6-foot deep hole. They were really concerned about the safety of their children, to be honest with you. That's kind of why we sort of wanted to go to a different approach, because of the depth of it and how it was.
That's a fair enough explanation.
I'm sorry?
Fair enough explanation. So that was just the question here, because as Chair Carol pointed out that, and you pointed out, I think every lot that has come before us has resulted in some sort of change in stormwater. And so it's just in a piece of property that was specifically designed with a 200-page drainage report, as you said. You can only imagine our concern to make sure that we're meeting what was the original intent of this property. This property was, a challenge from a design standpoint up front, and with every ongoing change to the plans, it becomes a little bit more for us to try and balance. And I think that's what the questions that are coming across from both the chair and the agent here from my own viewpoint, and I appreciate their input to try and maintain that balance in this whole project. I for one, will be very happy to see this project finally come to completion. I know it's been a long road for everybody, and I really appreciate the efforts everybody is putting in to make this as good as possible, for sure. Thank you.
Just to clarify one thing that you sort of mentioned there, Rory, the original design that was approved 8 years ago, as far as that watershed that heads towards the south, towards the existing wetland, had any particular swale, no sod swale, no particular way to get the water other than sheet flow from north to south. So I believe this is an improvement from what was approved a long time ago.
That's helpful.
Yep, and I think that we're just trying to be judicious and appropriate in our evaluation of each change, so that we make sure that the project is at the very least equivalent, if not improved. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any public comment? 20 Goodspeed Lane, Lot 5. All right, seeing none, Scott, our next meeting is Tuesday, October 10th. Will that work for a continuance for your client?
Absolutely, yep.
All right. So I'm going to do a motion to continue 20 Goodspeed Lane, Lot 5 to Tuesday, October 10th, meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Spadia second.
All right, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Grossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spadia.
Very good. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to continued hearings and possible deliberations. Our first project is 33 Pond Street.
Hello, can you see me and hear me?
Hi, Michael. We can see you. We can hear you. And we're ready whenever you are.
Excellent. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. You all see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So at the last hearing, went over the scope of the project. Just a quick refresher. They're constructing an addition within the footprint of an existing deck. And then they're constructing a patio and retaining wall and stairs within a footprint of an existing patio, retaining wall and stairs. And so the concerns at the previous hearing were constructability. And so we've submitted that full constructability and means and methods document for you all to review. And then another concern was ensuring that there was no work needed to be done out over the edge of the existing slope. And so we've actually shortened the patio. It was 8 feet extending beyond the footprint of the addition. We've shrunken it by 1.5 feet. And then we've also provided cross sections demonstrating that the patio will not require any filling beyond the slope here. So on the left side, I'll show you the line work first. These dashed red lines represent the cross sections left and right. On the left side, as you can see, the majority of the patio is below the existing grade, and it just kind of breaks even right here at the edge. So no meaningful filling over there. And then on the right side, you can see it's entirely below and will actually just be intercepting the edge of the slope there and be a flat plane. So no filling proposed. And then I've gone back and forth with Jennifer over the last couple of weeks, sending in revisions. We've submitted a letter documenting our compliance with the 1058-5 Riverfront redevelopment section. And we've also responded formally to the comments from Mass DEP in the town. And we've also formally requested a waiver. And that's just for the work inside the 50-foot no disturb. I wasn't 100% sure we needed this, but we wanted to put it on there just because we are doing some work in there. Well, the majority of the work in there, it's all been a developed footprint. We wanted to make sure that if this was needed, that we had the formal request in. But to keep it brief, that's kind of where we're at, and I'll turn it over to Jennifer and the commission for any further comments.
Thank you very much. Jennifer, would you mind starting?
Yes, the compliance statement we received today, though, so that we don't have enough time to go over that. It is a redevelopment project. So Michael, can you confirm that there is no activity beyond the existing post and rail fence?
Yes, that is correct. You can see here the existing post and rail fence is right here. And so it goes right through here. And then, so I think the limit of the erosion control is like maybe 1 foot beyond the post and rail fence. So we consider that to be breaking even. And then once the new fence is in, that area won't be maintained.
So the new fence shouldn't be beyond the existing fence.
We can try to pull that in a little bit. But I think, if that's the commission's, requirement, then we can do that. But given this slope, if we really go back into the disturbance angle of things way back, this slope was all filled during the construction of the lot. And so we feel that, just because there's the limit of the fence there, we feel that the filling of this slope in here during the original construction of the lot could be considered previous disturbance in the same vein that we're doing here.
Can you go back to your the profiles, please?
Sure.
On the left side,
Yes.
I see some issues with stabilization and even how you can construct that. Where is the sediment control?
The sediment control.
No, on the profile.
It's not shown on the profile here.
Understood. How would you install sediment control on that slope?
I guess it would be staked just like all erosion control along the edge of the slope here.
And so when you're removing the foot of fill and compacting the gravel for the patio, how is that slope not going to be impacted?
The erosion control would protect it. The erosion control prevent any sediment from going beyond the slope.
Just in my experience, I don't see that working in that scenario.
Proposed.
I think you'd need to pull the patio back a little bit.
Sure.
Just to be able to construct that and to stabilize the slope and not have an impact downstream.
Now, I believe we're proposing mulch sock in that area. And given the concern, if we were to combine that with a traditional silt fence as well, to provide the additional reinforcement and a higher barrier to prevent the potential for any sediment to run down the hill, I feel confident that that would prevent any sediment from making its way down the slope.
Anything that's going to go beyond that existing slope you're not going to be able to stabilize that or construct it.
I think, Rory, did you have a comment here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the comment here isn't strictly about sediment. It's about the stabilization of the slope, because as soon as you start putting, vertical pressure on the soil, compacting it, the slope is going to want to spread horizontally. So I think that that's the concern here, is that you're going to create a situation where you're creating alterations beyond the existing footprint on that fairly steep slope. Where you're not proposing any sort of wall, a retaining wall, and I'm not suggesting you have to have one. I'm expressing what the concern is here, where the compaction is going to cause you to have horizontal pressures that are just going to strictly push that slope outward and create disturbance. I mean, that's as I see it. I didn't have, as I was looking at the project, that's the concern. With that cross section, I think that by nature it's just going to happen.
So one point, the compaction. This is going to be a pervious patio area, and so compaction is not the goal. You do not want to compact the soil behind a lower recharge system, because it will inhibit the recharge, and so there won't be particularly strong compaction, I don't believe, in that area. And then to address the I guess the slight expansion beyond the posted rail fence. The exact language, and I pulled it up on the screen here, if it's at the section of our documented compliance letter, the exact language is within 200-foot riverfront areas, proposed work shall not be located closer to the river than existing conditions, or 100 feet, whichever is less. And so if we go back to the plan, the 100-foot riverfront is way out here, way off the property. And so the true threshold for the limit of work inside that footprint area is that 100 foot when it comes to proximity to the resource area. And so, you know, that's another point to consider, I guess.
But it's still in the buffer zone to the PVW. Still an alteration to the buffer zone, the no disturb zone of the PVW. Correct?
Yeah, yes, it is within the buffer zone, yes.
Okay.
And I guess from the resistance on our side from a site design perspective is that this patio is already rather small. And so if we continue to chip away at its depth, it's going to be like a sidewalk. And we don't want to reduce its width by that much. And so we'd rather take, you know, rigorous protection along the slope stabilization and the erosion control to manage it that way. Instead of, you know, reducing this to the point where it's no longer worth the effort to construct it.
I guess the question that I'm raising is that if there is disturbance during construction, and the slope gets altered, the only solution is to regrade that slope, and we're at that point where our hands will be tied to need to allow that in order to maintain and stabilize that slope. And that's, I'm asking us to consider it now, not when we have no other choice.
Yeah.
And so that's the consideration here is I want to consider what is going to be a possible, I won't even say probable, a possible outcome here as far as alteration of that slope.
Jennifer, can you check and see if Nathaniel Carden or Jay Balsevich is in the audience tonight? That's the architect and the homeowner. I'd like to get their feedback on this if possible.
John is here, but I'm not sure. Are you saying the architect is a landscape architect?
No, but he's sort of serving as the project lead for the owner from like the general prospect. He's an integral part of the design team, and so I'd like to see if he has any thoughts on the reduction, you know, on whether or not they're open to considering that on our end.
No one has their hands raised.
Okay.
And I want to be clear. I haven't proposed a reduction. I'm asking us to understand the potential for alteration of the slope and how would we handle it. And let's say that we agree that there is some likelihood that the slope would be altered. How would we want it to be handled? And if we decide together, not just the commission, but as a group here, we decide that 2 feet of patio is easier than a retaining wall, that may be something that we need to consider. And so I think that alteration of that slope is something more than minor to me, this particular slope. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, Roy, I appreciate it. I think my questions all sort of focused on erosion control, and it heads in a similar direction. I think I agree with essentially everything that's been echoed here, and I just would like a little bit more assurance. And to be honest, I haven't read the means and methods plan yet, and I will between now and the next meeting. But it's a valid concern.
Jennifer, I didn't see any of those materials up on the site yet. Were they uploaded? I didn't.
If it's new information that was received recently,
that would have been submitted last Monday
The last document
with the revised plans.
The last document I have on here is your staff report from 9/5. So when I reviewed the material yesterday, I didn't have access to any of those documents.
yeah. So Michael, did you put it on Permit Eyes?
We didn't know. We submitted it via email, and I thought we had determined that would be acceptable on your end. We gave you hard copies and we submitted via email.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So please put that on permit as.
Thank you.
And perhaps that will clarify, understanding the means and methods of how this will be achieved will clarify and give us a little bit more confidence that it will be a permanent structure at the top of the hill. So I think any other comments from members of the commission here?
I mean, go ahead, Mike.
No, I think I'm good right now. I'm gonna wait for my next meeting after I read through.
My only question was are the options, I know you're not proposing it, but are the only options to reduce the size of the patio to maintain the slope? I mean, what are there other options, I guess? I don't know.
Honestly, I didn't expect that question tonight, so I haven't given it too much thought on the additional measures we might take. The installation of a retaining wall along the edge of the pervious patio might be an option to further stabilize it there. And then with the retaining wall, maybe we can attach the fence to that and pull that in a little bit more, and do that to try and get what we need there. But given the direction we're going to a continuance to the next hearing, I'll take that into consideration and get back and submit to Jennifer and you guys online and through the permanized application any further revisions we might consider.
Ben, can I just have one more question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Michael, real quick. Or if you don't know, it's okay.
Mhm.
The installation of that fence, do you know how that's going about? Like, how are they footing it, or is it cement? Or are they just curious?
It's a 3-foot vinyl split rail fence. So I would imagine it'd just be concrete footings. Gotcha. Not sonotubes specifically, but along those veins.
Just digging into that slope and dropping the concrete.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anything else from members of the commission?
And I mean, I'm not intimately familiar with the means and methods document myself. It might be in there on the method of the installation of the fence specifics.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any comments from members of the public? 33 Pond Street.
Nope.
Seeing none, Michael, I assume you'd like to continue?
Yes.
So motion to continue 33 Pond Street to the next meeting of the Conservation Commission, Tuesday, October 10th.
Second,
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Phil's eye.
Beatty, aye.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
All right, turning to our next order of business, 102 Eastman Street, which this applicant has requested a continuance.
Yes.
So I will do a motion to continue 102 Eastman Street to the October 10th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Beatty, second.
All right, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Phil's eye.
Beatty, aye.
Our next order of business is 91 Union Street. This applicant has withdrawn without prejudice. And so there's nothing really. for us to
Discussion. I
talk
put that
about.
on the agenda to
Yeah.
make sure everybody knew we wouldn't be discussing anything.
So I mean, they've withdrawn the application. I don't think that doesn't require a vote or anything from us. But there it is. So that has been withdrawn, and we will continue to certificates of compliance. So beginning with 231 Center Street, certificate of compliance for a septic repair.
That one's ready for a full. And then I happened to notice this morning, the previous project had a partial certificate of compliance. So I'll let them know they should ask for a full and clear both of those off the property.
And that this is for 231 Center Street.
Correct.
So there's a pre-existing partial, and then the one we're dealing with right now.
Yes.
All right. So I'll do a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 231 Center Street.
Benson, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Both Phil's eye.
ADI.
All right. 82 Highland Street.
That's also ready for a full COC.
All right. Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 82 Highland Street.
Crossman, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Both Phil's eye.
ADI.
On to enforcement, our favorite category. Let's begin with 81 Summer Street.
They requested a continuance to 10/10 so they can finish up the restoration proposal.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll leave it. 20 Central 20 Central Street.
Their restoration plan was due today and we received it. I haven't had time to go over it because it came today.
Was that uploaded?
I don't believe so.
Is there any way for them? I just haven't. I'd like to take a look at that too.
Yeah.
Between now and the next meeting.
Yeah.
718 Washington Street.
They have an enforcement order. They were required to provide the restoration plan by the last meeting. We didn't receive it and no one attended the meeting, so I contacted them. The engineer said they had no idea it was due. I forwarded him a copy showing he was on the email chain, and I have not heard anything since.
All right. So not when was your last correspondence with the engineer?
That was Tuesday or Wednesday after the last meeting.
Okay.
Could read the enforcement order with another date where it's due, or
yeah. So I think what our options here are there. I mean, there's already an enforcement order, so we can do another enforcement order and give them another due date, or we could move to fines, or we could just push it 2 weeks and see what happens. I think in light of new contact with an engineer, it probably makes sense to let's issue another enforcement order and just give them the date of get us a plan by next meeting.
You want to say what the alternative is if they do not comply?
My only thought is, does the engineer know?
I mean, it's an enforcement order, so it says right on it, there is the potential for fines and imprisonment if you don't comply with it, on the DEP side, not on the, we wouldn't be doing that.
Nate, you seem shocked by conservation jail.
We would not be pursuing that.
Where is that located?
Colorado.
Conservation jail.
All the hardened eco criminals go to jail in Colorado.
Lawrence.
So you could revise the existing enforcement order, give them a new date, and say they really need to provide something.
Yeah.
I suspect that everyone is asking the same wetland consultant to provide all of these restoration plans, and that company may be a little overwhelmed, and information may not be getting to us as quickly, saying, hey, we need a little more time.
That makes sense.
Possible.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of new ones. 365 Main Street blocking culvert.
Yeah, I sent, I think 12 letters last week on enforcement, between update requests and these two new ones. I did not receive a response to that yet.
Okay.
So can I ask a question about this? Because this culvert came up, forgive me, as a point of information, Mr. Chair. This culvert came up as part of a RDA that we had on this property a couple of years ago. And because the homeowner was mowing intermittent stream that was created by the culvert
Mhm.
drainage. And so I just don't know if this is ongoing, something new. Is this property changed hands? I just don't know where this may be a long existing condition that unless it's new. I'm just asking, is this something new or was it the same one that was proposed to have been there a few years ago?
That I don't know, but I will look up and see if we have the RDA somewhere.
Yeah, it's on Permitize for sure.
Okay.
I looked it up today to make sure it was the same property.
Okay.
Now that you say it, Rory, I remember the project. What is blocking the culvert? Do you know?
They built like a big concrete rock wall right in front of it.
Sweet.
On the 365 Main Street side?
DPW sent me a photograph of it.
Yeah, I think that's new. So
That would be new. I drive that way all the time, so I will pay closer attention on my commute to work in the morning. All right, so I think there is not an enforcement order issued on that, or there is?
There's not. I always start with a letter.
Yeah.
So if there's no response, I mean, I can send a follow-up one.
No, if I would say just a follow-up letter, and then we'll deal with it. We'll take it to enforcement next meeting if necessary.
Yep.
But I think we'll hear from the property owner if it's the same owner. 309 Foundry.
Someone called and complained that they were filling the wetland. I drove by, the entire property is fenced, so I was not able to access the property. No one answered the door, so I sent a follow-up letter. I have not received a reply yet.
So we don't know if there is in fact someone filling the wetland or not.
Correct.
You gotta love Google Earth.
Or would a one of those helicopters, the drones, be appropriate to take pictures back, on this and other properties?
Oh, I'm a nerd, gents, and I have one of those. You can borrow it whenever you want.
Okay.
If you want to be a Concom spy, I have it right next to me right now.
Interesting. Okay.
That'd be a whole new level.
Taking this thing in a whole nother direction. I like it.
We do have one more to add since the 21 Marshall Road project a few hearings ago. The abutters are dumping a lot of compost in the wetland, so they would need to get a letter.
Okay. Send them a letter.
There's a few neighborhoods out there that we could do the entire neighborhoods and probably be appropriate.
Easy, Rory.
Pretty much every house everywhere, but
You trying to get me kicked out of here?
I don't go looking for these.
And I am not suggesting that we do.
Moving on to board
Luckily,
discussion.
it's usually an easy
Sorry,
fix.
Jen.
Luckily it's an easy fix with cooperative homeowners.
Yeah. Moving on to board discussion. Anybody, I did review the meeting minutes from 9/11/23, although I wasn't at the meeting, I watched it. Did both at the same time. Anyone have comments on the minutes?
I reviewed them thoroughly with Jennifer there. I thought they were excellent written. There was a couple of just minor little things that didn't have content related to them. So I would recommend that we approve them as presented or with minor changes.
Great. Any other comments?
Sounded like you had comments on your side.
Yes. It's bedtime over here. Motion to accept the minutes from the 9/11/23 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Second, Benson.
Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Rossman, I.
Both those I.
Beatty, aye.
We're getting some molars over here, so you're lucky it wasn't screaming objections. Right of first refusal, Mass General Law, Chapter 61, Forestry Program, Howard Street. Jim, would you mind telling us a little about this one?
Yeah, so the property is under the Chapter 61 program, so they get a reduced tax bill. If they're in that program, it's a 10-year program. They have to have a forest cutting plan, forest management plan from a licensed forester. When they come out of the project, come out of the program or convert the use, they have to offer the town the right of first refusal. So if the town says, no, we want that instead, we have the ability to purchase that property. So I think I will share the screen, hopefully.
Is there anyone here for this?
No,
So how do we actually get notified? Is it through the state or through the seller?
the seller has to provide the information, a bona fide offer, in a certified letter to Conservation Commission, assessors, planning, and select board. And then we have, I think, 120 days to, basically the other boards would provide their recommendation to the select board, and then select board votes on whether or not to exercise their right of first refusal and say, no, the town wants that property instead.
This is great. Just a very interesting program. I hadn't seen this yet.
Well, we got another one coming up next meeting. So can you see this map? Oops. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a little confusing, but from what I could piece together, I can't make this any bigger. Wait, maybe I can. The letter says 105. This is Howard, 105 Howard Street, which is this large parcel back here. It's 30 something acres. But when you actually look at it, recently the property owners have gone to the planning board and carved out a lot for lot 1 for the existing house, and then a new lot that it looks like they're hoping to sell and maybe build on. And through that, they took this area out of the forestry project. So that's what we're looking at. If the town would like to purchase the hashed area,
Okay.
we have the right of first refusal to say, no, we want that instead.
And so that is landlocked, essentially. Not
Correct.
essentially, I mean, that is landlocked. And then is all that blue is, I haven't looked at GIS in a little while, that's floodplain, right?
Blue is the floodplain. This sort of green area is wetlands. There's a stream. This is a potential vernal pool. But we're really talking about just this hatched area. The purchase price for lot 1, including the hatched area, I think was 700,000.
Purchase price for just lot 1?
For just lot 1.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, when I look at the other plan or the rest of abutting protected land, this rear parcel 105, I think would be significant and something that would be interested in. I'm not sure if we want this small portion that's sort of hanging out on its own.
Yeah. So again, to clarify that, we would just be getting the hashed out section with the lines.
Correct.
And not lot 1.
Well, that's the conversion. The purchase price didn't break out what is this versus this.
Okay, so they're saying it's a right of first refusal against the entirety of the parcel. Entirety of the parcel is being sold for 700,000.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when they propose lot 2, they'll have to come back for this area. They'll have to offer this to us as well. Because it came out of the original 105 Howard Street forestry area.
Okay. I mean, my gut reaction to this is that we do not want this. I'd like to see some, like, I would love to see us get some land in that area of the town, because I think there's a lot of open space over there, but there isn't, it's a huge ACEC. I'd like to see us preserve something if we can. But I don't think that we are interested in the right of first refusal here. Anybody feel otherwise?
No.
Agreed.
So is there any further action needed from us, Jennifer, or is it just is there a vote, or is it you'll inform them that we've decided not to purchase that parcel?
I would think you could take a vote and say the commission is not recommending exercising the right of first refusal for this project. But you could also put in the letter, we are really interested in 105, the rest of the property, if that becomes available.
Is it the same owner?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm gonna be lazy and say so
You can say
moved.
so moved.
I'm looking for a second.
Crossman second.
All right. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
All fells eye.
Spady, aye.
Next is chair updates. I do not have any this week. CPC updates, Al.
Nothing meaningful at the last meeting for this committee.
Okay. Jennifer.
2 notices for you. I don't think we went over this before, but the town's floodplain bylaw needs to be updated, and that's a requirement of FEMA. It was actually due several years ago. So the the planning board is holding a public hearing on that on October 16th at 6:30. It's a Zoom meeting. It's basically required. Otherwise, no one can get flood insurance. So
Who's actually responsible for that? Is that the planning board's jurisdiction?
the planning board is proposing the changes. I actually wrote them.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I would end up being named as the floodplain coordinator.
Okay. So it's
kind of
essentially like
stormwater bylaw where we have it, but it doesn't specifically say who's responsible. So it's a little confusing. So this requires the town to designate a person to contact.
so it's essentially like a FEMA map amendment for the whole town.
Yes.
Interesting. The things you learn.
And the other notice is that planning board is also hosting an MBTA. It's another zoning requirement. That meeting is October 11th at 7 p.m. and that'll also be a Zoom.
That one will be very interesting. I'd encourage everyone who can to attend.
And I'll put both of those on your next agenda because we'll meet right before that, just to remind you. And just make note of our adjusted schedule for the next 2 months. So it is a Tuesday, October 10th. And then at the last meeting, we canceled the November 6th meeting. And so then we'll meet on November 20th.
Yep.
And thanks for that. That will actually help everybody. But
Good. Anything else, Jennifer?
Nope.
Any pertinent item not reasonably anticipated by the chair? Seeing none, I'll do a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
All fells eye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
and
Night.
thank you, Mike. Mike got up almost all of our hunting signs on conservation property. So
That's amazing.
Time.
that's something we
Way to go, Mike.
How many miles was that, Mike?
You know, it wasn't too bad. It was a few. It was a nice tour around town. It was raining on a Saturday. Gave the girlfriend and the dog something to do. So it was great. And gets me all stoked for Monday start hunting season. So wear your orange.
I'm in.
Got it.
Perfect.
Duly noted.
Excellent. Okay, guys, have a good one.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.